This is my 2002 Passat Wagon. It's a great daily driver, smooth ride, plenty of room. The one thing it lacks is power.
And this is the Sprint Booster. Wait a minute. This is a Sprint Booster. It's a plug-and-play system that frees up power on the wagon. But that's not quite true. Let's talk throttle bodies for a minute. This big rotating flap is known as a butterfly plate. The shaft through the center is connected to an arm, which is connected by a throttle cable to the throttle pedal. The more the pedal is pressed, the more power is made in that moment. Nowadays, every throttle body has the throttle cable removed in favor of an electric motor. The throttle pedal sends the signal to the engine control module, which then controls the butterfly plate. And this is what the Sprint Booster affects. This little module takes the input signal from the throttle pedal and amplifies it, causing the ECM to open the butterfly plate quicker and further. The amount of amplification is dependent on the setting in the Sprint Booster. It's basically the same thing as taking the second half of the throttle pedal travel and moving it to the first part. Smaller movements from your foot will make more performance come from the engine. It doesn't make more power, it just makes the current power available sooner. Installation of the Sprint Booster is simple. Disconnect the wire harness on the throttle pedal. Plug the Sprint Booster harness into the throttle pedal and connect the factory harness to the other Sprint Booster connector. This Sprint Booster has three main modes: off, sport, and race. Off is the same thing as having no Sprint Booster at all. Sport gives up to a 30% better throttle response, and race gives up to a 60% increase. To try and prove this, I did a bunch of 0 to 60 runs at different settings. 3 with no Sprint Booster input, 3 at Sport 9, and 3 at Race 9. Each run was timed via GPS through the Track Addict app. Then the 3 runs were averaged together. Off averaged 11.6 seconds, Sport averaged 10.7 seconds, and Race averaged 10.2 seconds. While testing, it was not that noticeable that the Sprint Booster improved performance. And that could have been from a few issues with the testing process. Issue number 1. Every pass was a full throttle pass. That meant that the Sprint Booster had little time to actually amplify the input signal. Issue number 2. GPS signal was not always strong. It had to see movement before starting the timer, so sometimes could be more affected than others. Hey, before you go, there's one thing I'd like to mention. It would mean a great deal to me if you would subscribe. I don't think I've ever said that word in a video before. Feels weird. Here's the thing. I enjoy making these videos, and at the time of this filming, this channel has less than 1,000 subscribers. If we could pump those numbers up to over 1,000 by the end of spring of 2023, that would be amazing. Subscribe! Still feels... Now, like I said earlier, this is my daily driver. And daily driving is where I really noticed the Sprint Booster improving performance, in particular when going from 20 miles an hour to 40 miles an hour, or from 40 to 60.
Unfortunately, I couldn't come up with the test to properly quantify the feeling of the 40 to 60. So I guess you'll just have to go and get one yourself. I think it's gonna rain.